welcome to the latest episode of the Good Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum. Right, okay, today's episode of the show is one of those kind of episodes that kind of, should we say, for want of a better word, fell in my lap. I must admit, I hadn't really decided on what I was going to do this week, but lo and behold, an opportunity arose, as they say, and this particular opportunity is a brand new independent bottling company, and it seems like 2016 has certainly been the year for new bottling companies to crop up. I mean, we've had Claxton's that started not so long ago, and now we have North Star Spirits. Now, North Star Spirits is the brainchild of a chap called Ian Croucher, who used to work for AD Rattray, so one imagines that he knows a little bit about the whisky industry, and this is the first set of releases from him, and it throws up somewhat a bit of a conundrum, because obviously we've got a range of very different whiskies, and I think when I initially tasted them, probably tasted them the wrong way round, but hopefully today I've kind of got the way round about right, although it doesn't kind of quite track from youngest to oldest, but we kind of go from light grain to peat, if you see what I mean. But anyway, I'll talk about each bottling as we get to it in due course. So not really an awful lot to say about North Star Spirits, apart from obviously I'm stocking some of them, and I'll explain the reasons why I am stocking some of them and not all of them, and hopefully, they're up and available on the website. We haven't got the stock in just yet, but hopefully, you'll be interested in them enough to purchase one, or maybe more, or anyway. But that's by the by. So today it's all about North Star Spirits, and let's introduce the lineup. Okay, so like I said, this type of tasting does throw up the conundrum of what way round to taste them. So I thought, well, probably the best way round is to kick off with the grain. It's a 12-year-old grain from Port Dundas. It was distilled in 2004. All of these, incidentally, were bottled this year. Like I said, 12 years old, bottled at 58.8% from a bourbon hogshead. So 12-year-old, it's probably going to be a bit young. Like I've said previous episodes of the show, when we've done grain whiskey, realistically you don't want to go near a cask of grain whiskey until it's at least 21 years old. But we shall see what that has in store. Then we're going to kind of jump in age to 26-year-old Bunnahabhain. This was distilled in 1990, bottled at 51.1%, and again came from a bourbon hogshead. So old bourbon hogshead, nice, should be really, really nice. Then we're going to look at the first of two bottlings that have been finished in ex-Madeira casks. The first is a 20-year-old Arran, distilled in 1996, originally being aged in bourbon hogshead and then finished in Madeira, bottled at 51.9%. Don't know how long it stayed in the finishing cask, but we'll see what that one's like. The second of the Madeira finishes is the oldest bottling that Ian has done in this first release. It's a 25-year-old Tormore, distilled in 1988, again aged in bourbon hoggies, or hoggy I should say, in the singular, bottled again at 51.5% and finished in the Madeira casks. And for all of you that have a fetish for sherry monsters, probably giving the game away a little bit as to what this one is, it's Glenrothes. I always have the tendency to say Glenroth. Just I don't know why, but no, it is Glenrothes. Although, so this is a refill sherry butt. It was distilled in 1996, making it 20 years old, and bottled at 54.6%. And finally, the peated one, not an Isla. This is indeed Ardmore, an unheralded malt, if there ever was one, shall we say. And I have a tendency to really like Ardmore, and it works at a young age. I mean, I've tasted 4-year-old Ardmore, which you sort of think really shouldn't be ready for bottling, but you know. So this is an 8-year-old Ardmore. It was distilled in 2008, aged in a refill barrel and bottled at 55.7%. So there you go, that's today's little lineup. So without further ado, let's kick off with the grain.
Always remember you, remember.
Okay, so 12-year-old Port Dundas. Let's see what the nose gives us. Now, as we know, Port Dundas had both pot and column still, so the spirit that they tended to produce was more on the heavier style of more weighty grain style, and this has certainly got some pleasant weight to it. It's also got some crisp, fresh, almost spicy grain notes as well. A little bit of herbalness, a little bit of vanilla. I mean, I don't think you could have maybe got away with, say, something like the lighter styles, like maybe sort of Invergordon or Strathclyde at such a young age, because it would have essentially just been like oak-aged vodka. But this has some nice depth to it, just a little bit of that kind of rummy sort of dried fruit. Pleasantly aromatic. It's pleasant. See what the palate gives us. Surprising amount of dried fruit. Again, it's got some weight, grippy, coffeed, a little bit short because of the alcohol, and I don't have enough left to put a little drop of water with. Quite chewy, full, like I said, a little bit, more dried fruit than I would expect from a grain of this kind of age, and a little bit more oak as well. The only issue I had with it was the price. I would have had to retail this for $47.95, which you might think is not too bad a price for a 12-year-old. Certainly not a 12-year-old cask strength whiskey. It doesn't quite have enough complexity. Now, if you were to say to me that shave a tenner off that, $37.95, then probably I would have said, yeah, go for it. Why not? It's got some pleasant grain characteristics, and I think that would have been about sort of the right price point. But as it is, I think it's just a little bit, or I would have to retail it for too much money for what I think the complexity level is. But aside from that, quality wise, absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. Really very, very good. So yeah, nice starter, I think. Let's move on a fair few number of years. This is the 26-year-old Bunnahabhain. Let's see what the nose gives us on this then, shall we? Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Now, I've often found with Bunnahabhain, it can go in one of two ways. It can, certainly when it's aged in American oak, it can be, when it's relatively young, it can be light, it's summery, it's slightly honeyed, fresh. With age, it tends to become a little bit more maltier, and sort of like you get the oxidised fruit. So this is actually quite unusual for a Bunnahabhain of this age to have this wonderful summery, honeyed, slightly salty, vanilla, white fruits, aromatic. Oh, it's just wonderfully soft. This is absolutely stunning. Little bit of that dusty American oak, which kind of obviously gives you a signal to its age, shall we say. Little herbal note, little bit of a smidgen of smoke, not a great deal, but just a smidgen there, just in the background. Oh, it's just wonderfully complex. It's just lovely. I mean, you wouldn't peg this for 20 odd years plus. I mean, yes, like I said, it's got that little bit of mature, dusty vanilla oak, but it's just so fresh and vibrant and just wonderful, absolutely stunning. A little bit of lemon coming through now, sort of almost kind of lemon tart like note. Yeah, let's see what the battle's like. A bit richer and fuller on the palate. Kicks off with a little bit more oak, a little bit more vanilla, toffee, but still's got that lovely aromatic, summery apricot, white fruit, a little bit of spice. Not so much of the dusty American oak, it's more vanilla and toffee, like I said. Lovely citric middle, and the citrus kind of note just lingers, a little bit of saltiness, not a huge amount, but just a little bit. Touch of almost violets, almost slightly heathery possibly as well, but it's that lovely summer apricot-y fruit that's just, and white fruit, bit of pear, you know, that kind of style of things. It's just wonderfully vibrant and citric, and oh, that is absolutely stunning. That is really good. First of the two Madeira finishes. Now, Arran, as you know, does have in its range in the wood finishes that it does do a Madeira finish. So it's not unusual to come across a Madeira finished bottling of Arran. Now, of course, obviously with finishing casks, there's always that chance that the cask might become too much. But I've often found that even though Arran can on the surface seem like a fairly light-ish, fruity kind of malt, it has guts and it has substance, and it seems to work. I mean, the only thing it doesn't work well, and I've said it no end of times, is port. The port just swamps it. But certainly the Madeira cask finish that they've got out at the moment is very good. But anyway, enough talk about the distillery. Let's have a nose of this then, shall we? Lovely balance. First off, yes, you notice the kind of biscuity, nutty Madeira oxidised fruits, but it's the Arran character is just definitely there. That slightly tropical note, sort of apricot, pineapple, little bit of malt as well. That is just a lovely nose. Like I said, I mean, with any wine cask finish, it is, to me, it is all about the balance. Has the malt been sacrificed to the finishing cask? And in this instance, absolutely spot on. Really, really nice. It's augmenting, and it just has a sort of a lovely kind of natural feel to it. It's not forced or anything like that. It's just got that nice enhanced character, as I think a certain distillery would say. Let's see what the palate gives us. The cask is a little bit more prevalent on the palate, a little bit more of that sort of biscuity, nutty, oxidised, slightly honeyed fruit, but you can certainly still taste the Arran character. It's certainly got some barley, some malt. The tropical fruit is maybe not quite so tropical, I guess, on the palate. It's a little bit more subdued by the finishing cask, but lovely salty finish, lingering maltiness, lingering biscuity notes as well. Again, I just think that's just really nicely balanced, and yeah, that's good, like that. And moving on to the Tormore, so let's see how the Madeira has treated this one then, shall we? Now, although it seems lighter, the Madeira is kind of more in your face. Now, I mean, and I'm guessing that this is really going to be down to the fact that Tormore is generally a nice, light, crisp, slightly grassy spey, and I think in this instance, also the fact it's 26 years old, and the fact that I would have to retail it for 3 figures, it just doesn't. The Arran, beautifully balanced. This, I just think the balance is just slifted slightly in the cask direction. Again, very, very clean, but it's more about the sort of the toasted toffee, the biscuits, the slight herbalness, the winey kind of slightly honeyed fruits, and I'm not really getting a lot of barley. I mean, it's got a bit of a sort of crisp, almost mineral character to it, but I'm just getting so much of the Madeira. Let's see what the battle's like. Very dry, quite a lot of tannin on the finish. Again, all very much cask orientated, biscuity, nutty, dried fruits, a little bit of coffee, oxidised fruit, lovely length, great quality. I mean, you know, you can't argue with that, but I'm not getting any malt, I'm not getting any real semblance of the fact that this is 25 years old, and I can't taste 25 years old. I'm not getting any kind of dusty vanilla oak, I'm not getting any oxidised fruit other than the Madeira oxidised characteristic, and to me, again, it's just the balance is just not quite there. And certainly if you're asking me to sort of sell this for 3 figures, hand on heart, I really couldn't do it. But like I said, you know, I'm not criticising the quality of the cask bottling. Blemish free, no problems whatsoever, and if you like that, if this is your kind of bag, if you like big Madeira finished whiskies, then you're going to love this. You know, for me, like I said, just the balance wasn't quite there, so so that is another one that unfortunately I'm not stocking, but you know, quality, can't argue with it.
My heart will feel again.
Right, okay, so let's move on to the Glenrothes. Glenrothes. Anyway, as you know, I'm not the world's biggest fan of the distillery bottlings of this distillery. The entry level, I forget what they call it, select cask or something, some reserve or whatever they title it is. To be bluntly honest with you, pretty ropey stuff. And some of their other bottlings really just don't do it for me whatsoever. It's just industrial, bit cardboardy, and then you have the sherry, and it's all a bit, you know. And I remember sort of, you know, going back a fair few years, stocking some wonderful old bottlings by Duncan Taylor, American oak aged 30 odd plus years, just absolutely stunning, you know. And at that point in time, I'd rank it up there with the likes of Glengrant for its ability to age and just develop. And but anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. This has obviously been aged in a refilled sherry butt. So let's see what it gives us. Classic refill sherry, herbal, you know, dried fruits, raisins, sultana, bit of coffee, sort of bit, you know, slightly more bittery end of the black coffee. I mean, one might say that it's probably a good job you can't actually get any distillery character, and I'm probably inclined to agree with you on that one. But so yes, it's all cask orientated. It's not wholly my cup of tea, it has to be said, but no blemishes, no sulphur, no industrial notes. It's kind of straight down the line, refill sherry, dried fruits, bit of citrus, bit of coffee, bit of toffee. Yeah, it's almost kind of, refill sherry cask by numbers, to be honest with you. And there are a number of you that love this kind of whiskey. But it kind of leaves me a little bit cold. But I am stocking it because I know there are people that love it. And just because I personally don't really enjoy it, I can obviously appreciate the quality of it, and that's the main thing. So that if you come in and you want to buy a sherry matured whiskey from me, if you forget about some of the Glenfarclases, which can be kind of hit and miss, if you're going to buy an independently bottled sherry cask from me, that it's going to be a really good quality, because more often than not I'm likely to dismiss them. But anyway, let's see. I'll get a bit of wood smoke now, which is quite pleasant. So let's move on to the palate then. A lot more pronounced Oloroso, herbal, treacle, licorice, dried fruits, raisin, prune, a little bit of walnut shell. Yeah, it's classic sherry, classic refill. Well, I mean, it almost comes across as more first fill, but it's not quite so dense and to give you sort of like that, that first fill kind of character. But it's certainly got a lot of chocolatiness. I mean, I love the finish. The finish is absolutely gorgeous. Really long, really chocolatey. And I love my chocolate, But it's, again, I just don't find it particularly exciting. It's got no real kind of light and shade. It is just kind of almost textbook sherry. But like I said to you, I know that there are people, that you guys, some of you guys love this kind of whiskey, and obviously as a retailer, you have to at least pander to some of your customers' requirements, shall we say. You can't just stock everything that you like, otherwise it would be a little bit boring. But like I said, quality aside, I can't fault it whatsoever. It is pristinely clean. It's classically sherried, so if that is your kind of bag, then you are going to love this. And like I said, it's just it is what it is, shall we say, at the end of the day. So yeah, nice. And finally, we're going back to a young'un, as they say. So this is the 8-year-old Ardmore. Now, I like Ardmore. I mean, and like I said to you, I think Ardmore seems to be one of those kind of whiskies that gets away with being bottled young. Now, you don't see it very often. What's the distillery release? A Tradition or something like that, which is frankly chill filtered to hell and boring, and it really does not reflect how good the distillery's output actually is. I mean, yes, the bulk of it goes into the blends. I mean, I can't remember which blends it goes into, but anyway, let's see what this gives us on the nose then, shall we? Classically mainland peat, quite dusty and earthy, a little bit of tar, some crisp minerally citric fruit beneath. And that's one of the nice things about Ardmore. It does seem to be, I mean, it's not hugely evolved, it has to be said. And yeah, I forget what I'm going to have to retail it for. And I did kind of like about it has to be said, with regards to how much what I'd have to retail it for. But you know what, I like it. It has youth, vibrancy, intensity, lovely peatedness. And it's just, like I said, it's just something slightly different to the Islers. It's not got that medicinal, burnt woody sort of peaty kind of character, or that iodine or anything like that. And I just love the whole concept of mainland peat and the sort of slightly heathery, sort of brackeny kind of character that it has. And this has it. This has just loads and loads of wonderful peat character. Even a bit of manure as well. Getting a bit stinky now, which is always a plus point in my opinion. You know, nothing like a bit of manure, should we say? Let's see what the palate gives us. Oh, that's a meaty number. Oh, getting barbecued meat, bacon fat, dust, coal dust, peat dust. Oh, that's a lovely, lovely malt. I mean, that really is great. Yes, it's not the most complex of malts on the face of the planet, but it delivers that kind of wonderful intensity in absolute bucketfuls. It's just like a little bit citric, a little bit of maltiness, a little bit of minerality, but the main focus is that sort of meatiness and that sort of like, oh, you know, it's just great, absolutely wonderful. I love this kind of stuff, you know. And smoky bacon, I mean, all I can taste now is smoky bacon, so it had to be left to the end, you know. It was just like, there's no way I could have done that any other point in the tasting other than that's, because then your palate is completely gone, you know. It's like, everything tastes of smoky bacon, but fantastic, absolutely wonderful. Bit on the expensive side. I forget what I'm retailing it for, but yeah, if you like that kind of dry mainland peaty kind of character, then but if you love smoky bacon, you're going to love this. So yeah, brilliant, great way to finish the tasting, I think. Right, okay, so let's sum today's tasting up. I think for a first set of releases, I think these are absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know, like I said, can't fault them for the quality. The Port Dundas, like I said, just a little bit too expensive for I think what the complexity level was. If it was £10 a bottle cheaper, then I would have no issue with it whatsoever. But as it is, just a bit too expensive. But like I said, not taking away from the quality of it. The Bunnahabhain is stunning. That, I think between that and the Ardmore, it's difficult to choose which one is the standout bottling because they stand out for very different reasons. The Bunnahabhain is just classically summery and heathery and wonderfully aromatic, with that sort of like little bit of maturity without going into the kind of like the baked fruit kind of mature character that it often can, and so just absolutely stunning. The Arran, yeah, I love the Arran. The Arran, like I said to you, it just seems to sort of work really well with Madeira. It has the character, the cojones, as they say, to kind of stand up to these kind of wine casks. And so, yeah, I'm really impressed with that. The Tormore, like I said, again, it's all down to a question of price. And personally, I think it's too expensive for what it actually is. Quality-wise, can't fault it. There's no off notes, no blemishes, but it's just too cask orientated for my personal taste. The Glenrothes, yeah, okay, not my preferred cup of tea, like as I keep saying, but again, pretty much like the Tormore, blemish free, pretty much sherry by numbers, kind of classic. It's the sort of thing that if you like Macallan, if you like Glendronach and those kind of whiskies, then you're going to love that. And again, you know, price wise, I forget what the price is, but you know, for its age, 20 years old, you know, still, you know, a good value for money. And the Ardmore, as like I said, yeah, again, we're not talking major complexity. You wouldn't expect major complexity at that age, but what it delivers really, really nicely, and all that meaty peatiness, you know, is just I can see that one flying off the shelves. So as I've only got sort of 6 bottles of each, you know, if any of these kind of like really sound up your street, so to speak, then get in touch, place an order on the website. They are available to order, and I think the stock should be arriving in sometime next week. Well, I hope it certainly should be arriving sometime next week. So there you have it. That's kind of North Star spirits in the bag. hopefully, this is a sign of things to come. Certainly, looking at the new releases or the subsequent releases that Claxton's have made, they have chosen really, really wisely, and they've not gone down the route of we've got to bottle so much stuff. They've decided, yep, we're only going to bottle what we think is really good quality, and hopefully Ian will do likewise. And I can imagine that an awful lot of money has been spent. I mean, I know what these casks, well, I don't know exactly what these casks cost, but I know what casks of whiskey of these kind of ages cost, and that's a lot of money sunk into this. So and I'm hopefully it will be a success, and hopefully you guys will go out and you will buy these whiskies because they're good, and you will help this new company sort of get established. So anyway, that's this week's episode of the show in the bag. I hope you've enjoyed it. I don't seem to have any liquid left, unfortunately. So all that's left to say is good afternoon and good ramming.